Well, that was interesting,
said Chloe as she, Chris, and Michael settled into Miss Sunshine and out of the cold. Interesting? Well, don't gloat just yet. We still haven't caught the killer. So far, we haven't narrowed down just who the killer is. There's no usable DNA at either scene, and we have no way of knowing who the third victim will be. We got fuck all. Chris raised his voice in frustration, looking ahead at the next block. Chloe didn't open her mouth again and regretted doing so in the first place. Michael looked back at Chloe, who was sitting quietly in the back seat looking at him. Michael raised his eyebrows as if saying, sorry. Chris looked into the rearview mirror at Chloe, regretting his outburst. Chloe, I'm sorry.
It's okay,
she replied. Just then, loud growling noises echoed from her now empty stomach. Michael laughed and looked at Chris. You hungry? I know I am, Chris asked.
I'm hungry. How about you, Chloe? You hungry?
Michael asked. She looked at both of them, eyebrows raised, and asked,
How could you eat after seeing that?
She nodded her head back in the direction of the crime scene. Chris answered, looking at Michael. Well, because we're hungry. How's Chinese sound?
Lingwas,
Michael asked.
Oh, I love lingwas,
Chloe butted in.
I thought you were hungry,
said Michael.
No, I asked how could you eat after seeing that. I didn't say I wasn't hungry. Can't you hear the whale mating call going on inside of my stomach at the moment?
Chris smiled and looked back at her. Yeah, I think Miss Lopez even heard that. Chloe smirked and looked out the window as Chris and Michael began to laugh.
Fine, let's go,
Chloe said, still a little embarrassed. Lingwas was an old Chinese restaurant that had been in the same location downtown on the corner of Navarro Street and Broadway since the 1930s. It was a landmark spot in the tourist trap of the old downtown San Antonio. The building itself was nearly 100 years old, but renovated every 10 years or so to keep the look fresh, while still keeping the old look that attracted so many visitors. On the front doors were large, golden-plated dragons. In the lobby was a man-made pond filled with colorful koi fish. You had to cross a small wooden bridge in order to reach the doors to the actual restaurant attached. Inside, the crown molding was antique gold dragons. The walls were adorned with ancient Chinese scrolls and paintings, and the smell of various meats and veggies cooking with exotic sauces filled the entire building. Each room had a red Chinese-style archway, and Chinese opera music echoed through the two-story building. Large golden coins with red and gold tassels hung from long-poled ceiling fans. Along the second-floor balcony were two-seat tables for couples. Groups of 3 or more sat downstairs or in the extra rooms. Autographed celebrity photos were displayed on the walls, surrounded in white Christmas lights. With parties of 6 or more, you get free egg rolls with the meal. Everybody was engaged in their own private conversations. Many were so loud, Chris, Michael, and Chloe were okay with discussing the details of the case while stuffing their faces with the bold, colorful flavors of Lingwas' amazing cuisine. The energy throughout Lingwas was electric. You felt re-energized, refocused, and refreshed once you were inside. Call it good feng shui, or what have you, but there is no denying the amazing energy. The trio may have been in dark places in the voids of their own minds, but once they began to soak in the atmosphere and eat, their spirits were magically rejuvenated. They dined at a round table on dishes of mugu gai pan, sesame chicken, and lemon chicken with fried rice, lo mein, and egg rolls. Everyone took a little from each dish, sampling all the flavors of this award-winning restaurant. Chris worked on wrapping a bite of lo mein around his chopsticks, saying, "The way I figure it is that the killer must be somebody who's physically weak and lacks self-confidence. I mean, so far he's chosen victims who were 1, elderly, and 2, weaker than him. He chooses Vics weaker than him, people who can't fight back, like, say, a 30-year-old. He must be either small, short, skinny, a wimpy guy. Someone who has likely bullied a lot themselves, somebody weak. And according to CSI, he uses a small knife for the cutting and a spoon to scoop out the eyes.
I don't think he sees himself as weak anymore.
Michael said as he took a bite out of a crunchy, oily egg roll.
Damn, this is fucking good.
He said while chewing the egg roll. Chloe and Chris just looked at him. Chloe sipped her tea and continued on to her lemon chicken.
And he's likely pretty young. Most scary pasta writers are in their teens and 20s. Very few are older than 30. He's probably some uber fan nerd who has the social skills of Bigfoot. I think he might be one of these people who write pastas that are constantly rejected once he posts them up on the site. You'd be surprised at how many disgruntled writers there are on there.
Michael took a break from Mugu Gaipan and said,
So maybe he has a blog, but how do we narrow it down? I mean, aren't there thousands of users out there?
Chloe was nearly done with her plate.
Yes, but I know most of the admins who run the site. Many of them do edits most of the time and are in charge of quality control and look for red flags, like things not safe for work or incriminating. I'll contact one of my buddies tonight and ask them if they've noticed any blogs that are really weird or seem out of the ordinary. Like someone ranting about something odd. Maybe he can help.
She suggested. By now, everyone was just about finished with their tasty late dinner. The waitress placed a check and fortune cookies on the table in front of Chris. Chris gave each of them a cookie and they all began to unwrap them, eager to crack open and read what advice they had been given. Chloe laughed as she read hers first. Michael raised an eyebrow to his. Chris cracked his open, revealing the small slip of white paper that read, "Always a valley before a hill." He ate the first half of the cookie and placed the fortune inside his pocket. With a smile on her face, Chloe attempted to keep the fun energy going just a few more minutes before the night ended. She spoke up.
Hey, have you guys ever heard where you can add the phrase "in bed" after reading your fortune out loud?
Chris replied, "Yeah, haven't heard that in a while."
Okay, I'll start.
Michael said.
Every exit is an entrance to new experiences. In bed.
Everybody busted out laughing. Chloe read her fortune out loud.
Your talents will be recognized and suitably rewarded. In bed.
Everybody laughed once again.
What about you, Chris? What did you get?
Chloe asked. Chris reached into his pocket for the little paper slip. He pulled it from his jeans pocket and held it up, reading out loud. Always a valley before a hill.
In bed.
Michael and Chloe said in unison. Michael smiled and added,
Mine wasn't as funny as yours.
He reached for his leather wallet, pulling out a credit card and placing it on the check tray, and tucked his fortune inside one of the slots containing several other saved fortunes. The plan was set. Chloe would reach out to her admin friend and await an answer. Michael would go home and take a plate of sweet and sour pork with steamed rice and wontons to Carol, and Chris would go back home to his Jim Beam and lonely apartment where maybe he would get some sleep. They would reconvene at Chloe's apartment at 8 a.m. Since Chris paid for this meal, Michael would bring tacos for breakfast. Chloe left a $10 tip to the waitress. She thought it was only fair. As they opened the last set of golden doors, they stepped into the freezing late-night air. With full stomachs, they all felt rejuvenated and happy after such a fine meal. Even Chris. He almost hated to have to part ways for the night. It was a good feeling, something like his old self, even if it was for less than an hour. Maybe there was still some little ray of hope for him. He didn't have many friends anymore. Not that no one liked him, it was his choice to suffer in silence. The three of them made their way side by side to the parking lot, which was now full to capacity. As he went to unlock his door, Chris noticed some sort of ticket under the driver's side wiper blade. Michael peeked over to see what Chris was looking at.
What? What's wrong?
Chloe asked as she waited for Chris to unlock the doors. Chris pulled up the wiper blade and picked up the ticket. It was a dine-in receipt for Linghua's.
Something written on the back.
Michael pointed out. Chris turned the ticket over and read aloud. Keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. In bed. 2 down, 8 more to go. Shit! He was fucking here, listening to our conversation inside! He shouted, hitting the roof of his car.
He followed us from the damn crime scene. Motherfucker was watching us the whole time.
Michael said with a shocked expression.
Oh my God.
Chloe added as she felt a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. Chris knew the game was on. The killer was letting them know he can roam amongst them virtually undetected whenever he wanted. It also meant he had an advantage over them, the element of surprise. You have that, you have the greatest advantage of all. Chris, being the dead man he saw himself as, was less concerned for his own safety and more concerned for his partner and Chloe. Michael had a family to worry about and Chloe lived alone. That's right. Michael. Call Carol right now and make sure they're okay, Chris ordered as he finally unlocked the doors and they all quickly entered the Camaro. Michael dialed Carol's cell number as Chris started up Miss Sunshine. The loud screeching sound of the Camaro tires peeling out echoed through the streets of downtown. Michael finally connected with Carol. The kids were asleep and she had just dozed off watching TV in the living room. She was still a bit groggy, but okay. Keep her on the phone, Mikey, Chris said with a hurried tone as he sped through downtown with his red police flasher on top of his car and the sirens blaring. He drove well beyond the speed limit, trying to reach Michael's house as fast as he possibly could. Michael continued to speak to Carol.
Honey, listen. I need you to do something for me. Go upstairs and check on the kids and make sure they're okay. I'll tell you when we get there. Me and Chris are on the way there now. I know you're scared. Just, will you go and let me know how they are? Thank you, honey. I'm gonna stay on the phone with you the whole time.
Everyone nearly held their breath waiting for an answer from Carol. Although they were going fast, time seemed to slow down in that moment.
They're good? Oh, thank God.
Michael said as he and everyone else exhaled with relief.
We're just around the corner, honey. Stay with them. I'll stay on the line. Don't hang up till we get there, okay?
The Camaro slowed down in front of Michael's house, a typical house for a downtown city block. Michael was already getting out before Chris came to a complete stop. He ran up to the door and unlocked it. He placed his keys into his coat pocket, drew his service pistol, and entered the house. Chris exited the car, saying to Chloe, "Stay in the car, lock the doors." Chloe nodded, saying,
Okay.
Chris ran up the steps, drawing his Colt 45. "I'm right behind you, Mikey. I'm coming in," he called out to Michael.
Roger.
Michael called out as he ran up the stairs to the bedroom where Carol and his children waited. Let them be okay, Chris thought to himself over and over as he cleared each room on the bottom floor. All clear downstairs. How are you, Carol? Everybody good up there? Chris called out, looking upstairs from the bottom of the staircase. Silence. Mikey? Carol? I said, are you okay? He shouted louder. Nothing. Just then, he made his way upstairs, pistol drawn, facing the floor. Michael made his way out of the bedroom, saying,
We're okay, Chris. We're okay, man.
God damn it, he said under his breath, momentarily closing his eyes in relief. Carol came to the doorway of Eva's bedroom, holding Mickey. Chris holstered his 45. Carol asked them,
Okay, now what's going on? Chris, will you tell me since he's being a drama queen?
After what seemed like a good half hour had passed, Chloe felt the urge to use the bathroom. She pulled out Chris's card and dialed his cell. She told him of her little dilemma. Michael gave her the okay to come inside and use their bathroom. Chris walked outside to escort her.
Is that her?
Carol asked Michael as she and Chris walked in together. He led her into the downstairs half bath.
Yeah, her name's Chloe Marks. He saved her from a satanic ritual sacrifice when she was a kid.
Michael explained.
That's crazy.
Carol said, wide-eyed.
Don't you think she looks a bit like Abby?
She leaned in and whispered to Michael. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, why not give it a thumbs up? Give me a comment, let me know what you thought, and hit that big red subscribe button. If you've got any ideas for a story that you'd like me to read in the future, why not put it in the comments below? I'm here for you. I want to know what you would like to hear. And, as always, don't die.